Welcome to The Grit. I'm Matt Manero, your host. In my studios in Dallas, Texas, I have a special guest, a guy whose work ethic, whose business acumen I greatly respect and appreciate. Jayme Wait of AC Hero is in the studio. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm awesome, man. I appreciate this.
Dude, it's my pleasure. I mean, Jayme and I just got done doing a deal. My company financed a second truck for Jayme. How many you got in the fleet now?
15.
Yeah, so as Jayme continues to grow, we play a part in that growth. I mean, that's what our company does for 22 years. We finance trucks and trailers and big rigs and bulldozers and tow trucks. So why not extend our time together? And we're talking about two things today on the show. We're talking about why are there so many freaking phonies on Facebook and social media, and then also we're going to get into the hustle. But let's get down to topic number one. So, Jayme, welcome to the show, man. I'm happy to have you. You are my first guest in the new studio. And this studio, I redesigned the studio for me to be comfortable. Because previously, like we were just talking about, when I did these videos and stuff, I felt like I had to just drive these points home and absolutely had to hit all my points. When we did the radio show, we had the timing of like 9 minutes on and then a 30-second break. And I don't want to do that stuff anymore. I just want to sit in here. I want to be comfortable. I want to talk to hustlers and players. And then when it's all over, you're going to sign a booth.
Perfect.
And when you sign the booth, it means something to me.
I'm the first signer, right?
You will be the first guy to sign my booth. If you don't know what the booth is, just watch the video. You'll see it because we'll get Jayme sign it. But we have a big red London, old school London phone booth in the room. And the reason I bought that was twofold. One, I thought the color would look cool. And then also it reminds me of a time gone. I mean, could you imagine like you had to run your business off of that phone booth?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You had to have a dime in your pocket and you had to go.
You had to have a stack of them.
You'd have a stack of dimes or maybe nickels or quarters, whatever the time frame was. And you had to go, imagine how much you had to plan to be able to use that phone booth effectively. Whether it was setting appointments or the appointment canceled and you had to set a new appointment or there was an emergency at home. How did anybody even talk to you, right?
Yeah, that's all about structure right there.
And it reminds me of a slower time. But then the other piece of why I got that was it reminds me of how freaking fast things are moving and how totally obsolete that is now.
Oh, yeah. Which that's actually my entire business model. It's the opposite of that. You know, it's good for nostalgia, but none of us want to go back there. You know?
Dude, you know what I love? I went to your website about a week or so ago, and one of the things I saw was you have it doesn't say this, but it's one step from saying pay me right on the homepage mobily. Your customers can just hit and pay you.
Yeah.
That was totally by your design.
Oh, yeah, I did that on purpose. And I did that on every page. Yeah. So no matter what page you go to, it's right there at the top. It's going to be quick and easy to get to, and it's a reminder. So
when you're on a job and the customer's hemming and hawing, you just simply say, well, we can take whatever payment you want.
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah. I'd say whatever's best for you. If it works for you, it works for me.
I'll take them all. I love that, man. So listen, let's get down to it about something that you and I are both passionate about. Number one is personal branding, right?
That's huge. That's everything.
We want to separate ourselves. We do not want to be looked at as everybody else. And we're both in this weird space of blue-collar industries, and yet we're trying to build personal brands when nobody else does. And how did we get so lucky to have competitors like that, right?
Oh, yeah. There's who else is there, Yeah, so who else is putting anything into social media at all in either one of our industries? They're running ads. There's companies out there pumping hundreds of thousands in ads, but who's building a brand using those media?
But in your space, it could be Lennox, it could be Train. I mean, those guys have marketing departments. They've got budgets that we can't even think about, and they don't do a damn thing.
Oh, yeah. They're still stuck on newspapers, radio. I mean, like I said, they're pumping ads on Facebook. There's a difference between advertising and branding. To me, branding is senior to everything else because that's what ties it all together. Like what Grant Cardone says, if they don't know you, they won't buy from you.
Yeah.
No matter how good your
fault if they don't know you.
Absolutely, 100%.
Look, it's a tough space to move into, though, man. I mean, it takes guts. It takes a little bit of knowledge. It certainly takes money, time. There's a lot of things that you and I both do on social that we do not have to hit record on. But then conversely, which brings us to my primary topic, is there's so many guys that don't have real businesses. I mean, if I see another guy...
So many or most.
Yeah, no, most.
Yeah.
98% plus.
At least.
I could probably go the opposite direction. I can count a few on a hand. I can say, you got a real business, I got a real business, Cardone's got a real business, Vaynerchuk's got a real business. I'm not even sure Lewis Howes has a real business, right? Maybe he does, but I mean, different version of it. And then Frizella, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
A freakazoid with an amazing business. I'm a huge fan of Frizella, and I know you are
him
too.
daily, yeah, for sure.
Dude, that guy's the real deal. And then there's and there's others, but not many.
Oh, yeah. And quick side note, that's the quickest way to kill your credibility is quote people like it's your own material. Because then all of a sudden they pop that up, they find out who the actual originator's from, instant. No, that's the last one they're ever going to listen to you. You're no longer a source for anything.
But why does everybody think that their story needs to be told?
Well, what they don't understand, see, both of our stories, it's crazy. I think that they need to be told. They need to be told legit and straightforward. You know, you and I, we don't cookie cutter our stuff, or we don't sugarcoat our stuff, and we definitely don't cookie cutter it. But we have stories that you would think are nothing anybody wants to hear. You know, you grew up with your father's situation and all that kind of stuff, but you were transparent about it. You owned it, and look what happens. That's actually an attraction to you rather than a downfall, you know? And then I grew up, no college, being
hardcore dad.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Very disciplined.
I ended up getting fired from my company after 15 years of building processes and all that kind of stuff, but I asked him to sign off on my hours so I can get my air conditioning license, and he fires me on the spot. You know, so it's a similar thing, but
why? I don't understand. Why would he do that?
Probably a pride thing, or I don't know. Maybe what the thought process was push him out there without having total belief in me that I would be able to make it, and then that way I'd hurry up and lose, and then come right back.
Were there other things that happened in your upbringing in which your dad wanted you to lose?
No, never. So maybe that's just me. See, what I do is I take a lot of things and I twist them in a way that's going to motivate me. So maybe it had nothing to do with that, but it worked for me by using that as drive. So, you know, at the end of the day...
your dad did nothing wrong, but in your mind he fired you on the spot because he didn't want you to get better.
Yeah, I'll twist things around. Whatever, if there's anything out there, I'm going to use it for fuel, no matter what. I'm going to find a way to use good, bad, or neutral as fuel.
Dude, I do that. You know who does that too? And I'm not putting myself in that category, but David Goggins. You know the guy I'm talking about? He's the guy, they wrote the book Living with a SEAL, and he's that Navy SEAL, and he had a terrible upbringing. And
you reference him quite a bit, don't you?
And he talks about how, you know, the only way he can do a 200-mile endurance race is to take himself back through hell. And even if it was good, he still has to remember it as bad.
Right.
And that's what fuels him to go.
See, a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, why are you focusing on all this negativity? Well, to me, there's no such thing as negativity if it's driving you forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's just another form of energy. And for me, the way my DNA works, you know, I'm able to use it. It may not work for some people. Some people, it bogs them down. You know, for me, it works for me.
So what you're talking about, though, is what you had the post yesterday. I had the almost at the exact same time the LinkedIn post about learn from Shark Tank was my idea, right? Which was I love it when somebody gets a deal, but what I love even more is when somebody who thinks it's the greatest business on the planet, they have a global following of raving fans, and the tank asks them, what's your revenue? And they say, you know, 60 grand, and the whole place bursts out in laughter. That's my favorite part, when the fraud is exposed and you begin to see how clouded that entrepreneur's head really is.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, see, whoever's not following us may not understand, but the people who do, I'm pretty transparent. I'll put it all out there, you know, from revenue to problems to good stuff to bad stuff to whatever. Luckily, there's not as much bad stuff, which is why we have so much growth. But I actually texted somebody my P&Ls yesterday just because I made a claim that I'd make 60% net profit. Like, no, there's no way you can do that. Well, in 2017, you can. You couldn't 20 years ago. But now there's so many processes in place. Well, first off, if you're not utilizing those, then that's your own fault. But they are in place. There's tools that you can use. And so you can alleviate so much middle waste that you used to have. And so a lot of the older school guys don't necessarily know that, which is a good thing, especially in both of our industries, that they're still stuck on that while we're moving forward. But like I said, I just shot P&Ls over. So that's one thing I'm big on is transparency. And if you're going to make claims, you know, make sure it's accurate.
But that's what holds you accountable. So what you're saying, we're both on the same page, is listen, number one, if you got the real business, share it, man. Be an expert. Tell me how you did it. Don't tell me, you know, how great it is. I want to know the process. But then the second part is if you don't, do me a favor, man, show me the struggle.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me why you suck, why you're not going anywhere, where you're struggling, because people will come and help you. But boy, when you're standing in front of that leased Lambo and, you're showing me your Rollie and all that sort of stuff, it's to the point where I almost can't even use my feed on Facebook anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, that's where it gets out of hand for sure. But that's an excellent point that I never even thought of, is if you are in a spot where everything you're doing is not working, that's even more reason to project your struggle, because people want to help. It's our human nature. You put a post out there, hey, I'm looking for a lawn guy or something, you're bombarded with 200 comments. Nobody has liked or commented your stuff for the last 2 years. You put something like that for a referral, everybody wants to be the person to solve someone else's problem.
Yeah.
So that's a very smart strategy right there. I haven't thought about that one.
Dude, I did it for my book cover.
Yeah.
I mean, I put it out there, and it was, why not beta test?
But it's even being transparent about it. It's not saying like, hey, option 1, 2, or 3, let's vote and you get a prize. It's straight up, hey, I'm having an issue here.
Yeah.
Help me out with this.
Dude, it's the only way to do it. So the takeaway for anybody listening or watching, whether it's on Facebook Live or on the podcast or on the video, is listen, please. The game, the phoniness doesn't impress anybody, and the only people it impresses are the people who are lower on the food chain than you. If you really want to impress the players, be real. And by the way, it took me a long time to figure that out, man. I mean, I sheltered myself from leveraging up in relationships and network because I didn't feel worthy enough, that my business was strong enough, or that I was credible enough. And so I busted my ass for 20 years until even at that point, and to this moment, I still feel like I'm not credible and worthy, that there's a lot more that we can do. But I missed it, dude. It wasn't about that at all. You know what? They wanted me to come in and say, here's my problem. Can you help me solve it? And that didn't have to be with multi-millions in sales. It could have been with $100,000 in sales.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, all day.
We miss that, man. The ability to move up the food chain like that.
Oh, no, we've got a buddy who reaches out to us all the time. I think he makes 40, 50, something like that, But he's putting, as long as you can see that they're putting the steps in place and actually take your words and take action on it, then you'll help them all day long.
But dude, in 2 or 3 steps, you can take that guy from 40 to 80.
All day long.
Like that.
All day long. Things are a lot simpler than people realize, and that's why they're not hitting it. It's because they're trying to go through all these different steps they think they have to do.
Yeah.
When really it's just do this. No, it can't be. And so they'll actually come back at you a little bit for a little while, thinking that there's no way that's that easy. But then once they realize it, because just like you go 20 years, grind, which you're still grinding, obviously, but then you figure out that deal, and then now it's just an instant explosion.
The first million's the hardest is true, right? The second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, it's a lot easier.
It took 15 years for the first one.
So let's talk about it, though. Something crazy happens. You get lucky, and I know you're a competitive guy, but you end up deciding to make moves, and then you meet Dave. How do I say Dave's last name? Heil?
And I'm assuming that we've got $27 million worth of real estate together, and I still don't know his last name, which we actually met on Facebook, by the way.
Right. But I know that partnership has been instrumental in your individual success too, right? That
Definitely.
And Tiffany's, your partnership with Tiffany too, right? I mean, those 2 partners that you have were key to you being able to make these giant leaps. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that's 100%. Yeah. Nobody's going it alone. And so if there is a secret weapon or whatever, it's someone else. It's a partner, something along those lines, some mentor, something who can give you a little bit of an edge.
Dude, I missed that. I missed that opportunity because I'm a ridiculously competitive person, and I love being in second place because I want to get first.
Yeah.
But in certain spots, I got to first. And I got away from the fact of where's the partner. My wife is a good partner in that regard, but not in business.
Right.
And then I said, who can I compete against, right? Where's that next step? And I stopped looking for a while. And I bet that probably cost me 5 or 6 or 7 years of my success, because when I made the choice to leverage up and find this next round of people, then I got fired up again and crazy. How do I beat that guy? And you had that with Dave, or have with Dave and Tiffany. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah. So it's an internal competition, but at the same time, everybody wins. So there's no jealousy or struggle or anything like that. When Dave does a deal, because basically what happens, I'm the passive partner on the real estate side. He's the passive partner on the air conditioning side. So we're constantly trying to one up one another as far as that goes. And then the same thing with Tiffany. We're business partners as well, and at the house, But
you can't bullshit either of them. I mean, they're both players in their own right. They're very competitive people. They're both incredibly physically fit. They win. They achieve. So that keeps you on your game too.
You got to.
Right? I mean, you're. Listen, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth, but some days you are in front and some days you're behind.
Oh yeah, for
with
sure.
With that group, right?
For sure.
That's just the
nature of it. But that's if it's always one way or the other, you're not growing. It's just like walking. One foot's always got to go. It's just those are your partners.
Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. But you met Dave on Facebook, and how?
Grant Cardone. It seems like if you trace this back, you can hate on him all day long, but everything almost stems back to that,
it's 100 degrees of Grant Cardone.
Yeah, because how hard is it to find hustlers out there? It's very hard. But so what you do, just like anything else, you go to a hub is what I call it, and that's where all the hustlers were going in. And so I'm interacting with his posts. Dave's interacting with mine, as well as hundreds of others on the network that we've kind of built here. But we started going back and forth. He randomly messages me April of last year. He's like, hey, man, do you want to get into commercial real estate with me? I've noticed your hustle and it's top notch. That's the first thing he ever said to me. So what attracted that in the first place was
personal branding.
Yeah, was the hustle and how hard we're going in. I'm not out there looking for anybody. I'm out there being an AC guy just the best I can. And who knows, now a freaking commercial real estate guy is coming after me, And then, so he sparks that idea in my head. Commercial real estate, I never even thought about that, because I'm just an AC guy. That was the instant where I ripped that out of my vocabulary.
So your idea was, listen, I want to just build the biggest AC company I can, right?
At that time, I wanted to just
do better than you were.
Exactly. And really who sparked me to build the biggest AC company I could was you, that lunch we had earlier this year. That was in January. It feels like such long ago, but at that time I had 2 employees. Ever since that meeting, I left the meeting, I went back to my business broker, and I go, I'm going to buy another company. And then sure enough, I did within 2 months. So 2 employees up to 15 within 3 months of our meeting right there. Because that's where I was saying, you take somebody's advice and then you put action into it.
If you are willing to take the advice. So many people hear it in one ear and it goes out the other. And they forget the middle part, which is to pull the trigger, it's execute.
Oh, 100%.
You have to do it. So it is an amazing run that you've had, right? Not just getting away from your dad's business, starting your own business, and now the morph into the storage business. When you say commercial real estate, it's primarily, well, you own your building, but it's storage facilities, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so who helped you identify that storage facilities is the spot that's the niche that you need to get into?
That was Dave's trial and error. See, that's the beauty of partnerships, is you get to leverage their past experiences.
Yeah.
So you don't have to start from scratch. You start from where they're at, And so I get to just jump right in with that. So he spent the prior 2 years figuring it out that you don't want to go single family, that you don't want a triplex, that you're spinning your tires because you've got the same amount of headache. We have the same amount of headache with a 500 tenant self-storage facility that you do with a triplex, or even a single. I actually had more headache with a single family tenant. I had 2 rent houses, met Dave, dropped them off, and so now we're up to 2,500 tenants, and that's 12 months.
That's
12
awesome.
months, So there's no way we don't hit 100 million worth of commercial real estate holdings by the end of next year.
But the question becomes, how do you find the deals, right? Because everybody refuses to execute because they think it's saturated, or the big boys are in it, or somebody else has it figured out and they can't figure it out. So how did you find the deals?
That's how I found the deals.
How?
What you just said. See, everybody says it's saturated. Everybody says it's too risky. Everybody says everybody else is already doing it. So they all talk themselves out of it. So only a few people are actually doing it. The few people who decide that, just like anything else, the one guy who built the business is the one who ends up benefiting off of it, So it's actually not as saturated as people think. But I hear this all day long. If it's such a great idea, why isn't everybody doing it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm here talking you into it now. If you want to do it, do it. But most of you guys are so skeptical, it doesn't happen.
But see, Gator was bought from a big company.
Oh, we bought that from a $500 million company, if not more than that. And because those deals are out there every single day. Granted, you have to go through 100 to 200 of those deals, but the big boys, those deals like them, the ones that get us off the ground, that's I don't know what I can say on the, but that's
it's chump change to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but to you, it's a big gap.
Oh yeah,
it's a big move.
That we took that one from 2.7 million to, I think our appraisal is going to come in around 7.3, and that was in 6 months.
Right. So the point is, you look for, and I'm going to use this. It's an unfair term, but you look for other people's crumbs.
Absolutely.
That's the sole reason this business of commercial fleet even exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's because Wells Fargo doesn't care about the stuff that we do, and neither does GE Capital or Bank of America. And there's billions of crumbs.
Oh man, that's awesome. we're so much more alike than either one. Like we got to get more talks in, because that's literally how I started my company too. I built my company on nights and weekends when nobody else wanted to answer the phone.
Right.
They'll call six. I literally heard this for 365 days straight of my first days in business. That's how I built my entire foundation. I called 6 companies. No one answered the phone. Called you. So, and now I'm still doing business with them today. They've already referred on hundreds of people, so it all came, same story there.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that. So let's get back down to the real estate thing real quick, because there is a method to the madness.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I know you're a grinder on not just in the AC business and making that to perfection, but in this business too. You talk about hundreds of deals. How do you even know what you're looking for when you're looking at hundreds of deals?
We're looking, well, first off is occupancy. That's my first key indicator.
You want high or low?
I want mid. Because if you're too low, then that's telling a sign.
It's a dog with fleas. If it's too high, you're going to pay up.
Well, if it's too high, Dave calls it rubber band. It's already snapped all the way back, so it's got to go back the other direction.
Got it.
So 100%, it's already topped off. You only got one way to go, and that's down.
10-4.
But what does everybody look for? Everybody else is looking for 100% deals. Oh, it's got 100% occupancy and it's off market. I want it. That's what everybody wants.
Right, and that's how you get a 5% return.
Exactly. But we're getting. My average is 49 to 60% return, and Dave's is higher than there because he has higher equity than I do. Our partnerships are so selfless in there. We put the same amount of money in.
Yeah.
But the guy who's running the project gets the higher equity percentage, and there's no battle there, because it's giving them a bone. If you're taking away that incentive, then why are they going to work as hard?
Well, yeah. I mean, I do real estate deals with Cardone, and I do nothing for those.
Yeah.
Zero. But guess what? He gets the bone.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I get what's left over, but he gets the bone. By the way, it's exactly how it should go.
Oh, absolutely.
He finds the deal, he PGs the deal, he puts the deal together, and he just takes my portion of my investment, and I get my ownership, and I don't do anything for it. And he deserves the bone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The guy who finds the deal deserves the bigger bone.
Mm-hmm. But even in this one here, so the way that's how we do it for the other people who come in, but for just our core, since we're the first two partners of the State Storage Group, I still give them that. This last one I found, it's 120,000 square feet.
Is this the one in Fort Worth?
This is one in Fort Worth.
That's the one you poured the concrete on and all that?
It's 22 acres.
But that was already built, or you built that?
No, we have a kind of a rule of thumb to hit 20 million asset holdings before you start building. That way you're cash flowing, because you have holding costs while you're sitting on there waiting for it to actually start generating revenue. So that's why we have a good, strong foundation to come up first. That's funding everything else.
You guys have any interest in taking salaries out of that business, or you put it all back in?
I haven't taken a salary in 2 years.
You take money out of AC, right? You pay yourself out of AC Hero, right?
No.
No kidding.
I live on maybe $30,000 a year.
Nice.
I guess if anybody thinks I'm lying, I'll text them my P&Ls. But no, so I don't take a salary.
So it's all
I don't take
going
a dollar.
back into everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
It's 100%. But then again, I do have the advantage of Tiffany being extremely successful as well.
Totally.
So I don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
But even still, if I wasn't so big into fitness, I would eat bologna sandwiches all day to save money to go back in on these deals.
Yeah, you got it.
Bologna sandwiches first, and those pay for the plates.
Because you have certainty in those deals. That's why.
Oh, it's 100%. There's zero risk.
So I talk about it a lot, man. Why do so many people have the inability to pull the trigger? And it's because they haven't done the research and the analysis to remove the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Risk is directly connected to research and analysis. If you've done enough, the risk should go away. If you haven't done enough, the risk stays.
Oh, 100%.
Anyone listening, if you still feel like a deal is risky, whatever it is, it's 100% indicated that you haven't done enough research and development. You don't know enough about that deal to eliminate the risk.
No, all day long. Yeah. You can stand in front of a Lambo all you want, but that's not going to get you where you want to go.
So listen, big guy, I'm proud of you, and I mean I don't mean that in any capacity other than I just love being in around you and Tiffany and Dave and watching you guys make these not small moves, these big moves in a short period of time. It's the takeaway for everybody, even including myself, which is it doesn't have to be 3% annual raises, right? You can make big moves over a short period of time with massive effort, research and development,
100%.
partnership.
That's
right?
That's even as an employee.
Totally as an employee.
If you're the guy out there trying to figure out how to make your company more money, you just became way more valuable than any skill you could possibly learn. That right there. Well, first off, if you don't have a boss who will actually appreciate that, find one, because they're out there.
Totally.
They're out there. I've got certain positions that I'll do base salaries on, and the rest is 100% performance pay, and that's why I don't have to advertise.
But dude, stay with me for that a sec, because I think what you just said to the employee base is if you have that mindset and the company you work for isn't rewarding you for that mindset, leave.
Don't come work for us.
Yeah, totally. Right? Z, we talked about that before, man. I've said if you're not getting it in the place that you work, leave. Those days are over where the employer controls the employee. It's hocus pocus, man.
It's
the exact opposite, really.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The way things used to work is you stay for a company for 30 years, and that's how you make it. Nowadays, provide the most value. And so if you're you can be an entrepreneur and still work for somebody else.
Totally.
It's all just about the way that you're going to present yourself. If you're going to be the guy who I want my vacation time, I want my like when I'm in an interview, somebody fires themselves within 5 seconds if the first question is what kind of benefits do you have?
Totally.
If that's your first question, then I'm already not listening to you.
I agree with you. RJ Grimshaw, my buddy RJ Grimshaw, is writing a book called Intrapreneur, in which he talks about, because he's the CEO of a large bank.
Right.
So he works for somebody else, but he is a complete entrepreneur mindset the way he runs that thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So look, I want to finish on this. I knew you and I were going to be friends when at lunch you told me the story, and just tell it one more time, of when you were in the attic and you were doing the job and it was so hot up there, you said to yourself, today might be the day that I die. And you continued to finish the job. When you told me that story, I didn't doubt it for 1 second that you literally would have died before you bailed on that job. Just go through it real quick.
Oh, no, all day long. So that particular day, I was already completely spread thin. All of my installers were tied up for other people. All of my other technicians are on installs. We just had to do what we had to do to get this stuff done. When it's 110 degrees outside, if you're not the one taking care of it, they're going to call someone else. There is no waiting list. It's you get it done that day, or they're going to do someone else. So I was forced to go do this job myself. And I've done jobs myself forever, but I guess I'm starting to get older. But so I get out to this side here. I mean, I'm getting as creative as possible on how to do this. I literally walk down the street until I find a lawn guy. I pay him $50 just to help me get the unit in the attic. Literally, I gave him some cash there. But I get up there, it's 140, 150 degrees at least. And I'm sitting there to where my eyes are starting to just give out, and it's just total subconscious. I'm like, dude, this is it. I don't know if I can do this or not. But the thing is, if I quit right now, what's that going to do for me? What's that going to save for me? It kills your momentum. So I just kept going, and that was one of the 2 times last summer that I thought I was going to give out in an attic for good.
But when you mean give out, you're saying you literally might pass out, no one's going to find you, you're going to die on the job. And you kept working. Dude, when you told me that, I didn't doubt you for a second. And I knew that we were going to be buddies.
Perfect.
So thanks for coming in, big guy. On the Grit with my friend Jayme Wait. I'm Matt Manero, your host. Till the next time we talk. Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That's great.